Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review of Wheel of Time Season 2, Episode 7, Days Damar, directed by Sana Hamrin, written by Justine Joel Gilmer. This is it. We are at the penultimate issue, if everything on Wikipedia or IMDb looks correct to me. Uh, this is crazy. This season has gone by so quickly. Let's talk about the cast real quick, just as a refresher. Rosamund Pike is Moraine. Daniel Henney is Lan Mandragon. Zoe Robbins is Nynaeve. Madeline Madden is Ewain. Joshua Stradowski is Rand. Marcus Rutherford is Perrin. Kate Fleetwood is Leandrin. Donald Finn is Matt. And Natasha O'Keefe is Lanfear. We definitely get to see a lot more people, but those are kind of the main cast. Um, so, in this episode, first of all, let me talk about this episode was pretty good. Uh, it doesn't advance the story as much, but it begins to tie off a lot of storylines themselves, kind of bring them to a close. We've been introduced to a lot of people, several locations, all throughout the second season. So it's really interesting to see where they're trying to focus on. Um, I will say, and I gotta be honest, I think Matt's storyline is the one that I'm the least interested in at the moment. Like, I feel like there's not a lot happening with Matt. Like he's just kind of being brought into like the to be controlled by Ishmael and just it doesn't at this point make a lot of sense or have any direction like where this is going. So I will say that's probably the weakest stuff right now. This was a very emotional episode. We'll talk about more of the details of that, but like just impactfully and emotionally, like the characters go through a big journey, ups and downs. There's definitely a lot of conflict there that needs to be resolved, but overall, enjoyable episode. I do think it is a little bit bogged down by the fact that it is the penultimate thing and it needs to kind of set everything up ready for the finale. I think the finale is going to be just a big spectacle, very similar to what we saw last week or last season. So yeah, this is going to be pretty interesting. So let's get into it. Spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go check it out before you go past this point. You've been warned. So we begin with a flashback to Moraine and Subain as they kind of plan their future. As we get to see younger versions of themselves. Although it's only about 20 years, so it's like not to them, time doesn't really pass that much. But you can tell they were very different people. Their relationship was at its peak, I would think, and they just kind of sit there, talk about their future, and then they run into, I believe the name is Guitara, who has a vision, and we get to see that vision, and it is the same scenes that we saw last season at the beginning of the show that were showing us the dragon being reborn, uh, and how it explains how this mission was kind of entrusted upon both of them, the vision to find the dragon reborn and make sure that the dragon reborn can come and protect the world, right, as opposed to be brought into the dark side. So yeah, and from like this explains so much about Moraine and her motivation, because she and they both of them are the only ones that really know what's going on. They've let in a few more people now, I think, into the fold, but for a long time it was just them, and they had a plan. Like Moraine will find the dragon reborn, so Bane will make sure that the tower is ready to accept this dragon once they find them. So wow, yeah, really interesting stuff. We cut to the opening sequence, and in the present, we see them once again as they share the burden. They finally meet up. They have a conversation. This is where kind of they explain all their plans and everything that's been going on. But obviously, nothing has gone according to plan. At this point, Moraine has even lost her connection and therefore her powers. But we do get to see Rand again. So Bane finally meets up with Rand. They explain that unfortunately she has to keep him prisoner because we kind of know where what happens to a Dragon Reborn who continues to channel and how they go crazy. But I don't know. I feel like Rand is special, and hopefully he's different. So we also see that Lanfear finally got a hold of Matt. We'll visit Matt's storyline a little bit. I kind of condensed all my Matt notes into a couple of lines because, like I said, not a lot is happening there. I think from the comments of one of the videos, somebody mentioned that the books they're adapting from, Matt's not really a big part of the story. So maybe that's why it feels very hollow, very surface level, everything that's happening with him. I will say everyone at the tower and around the areas around, like they are so on edge, and therefore like all their actions feel like they're being a little bit shady and misleading. And the Forsaken showing up really has everyone very riled up. We do get to see a nice moment of Lan and Moraine finally catching up as well. They have a conversation, and I feel like they kind of starting to put a plan in motion. We do see that Ren at this point, even with all his power, is no match for an Aes Sedai. But he refuses to live in a cage. He has things to do. He has his friends to save, which we'll get to in a minute. We get to see, we get to see that Rand's motivation right now is mainly to go out and rescue Egwene, who we then go see another scene as Egwene and Rena test her power in front of everyone. And look, of course, we all know Egwene's a badass. Like she she outperformed, she outkicked her coverage there. So yeah, very cool stuff. Really cool scene with a giant display of power. But obviously, this is all still with Egwene being held captive. We do see Loyal who connects with Elaine and Nynaeve. I love how formal he is. He immediately recognizes Elaine as, royalty and somebody that um, at least he's still, that's something that they can't take away from him in his captivity. He still is that person who's respectful and I guess acts that way. But they, everyone's kind of working to find Egwene, free her, and then kind of get the hell out of there. Uh, Here we finally get to see some of the stuff that I was talking about with Matt. So Ishmael talks to him about not being able to sleep, and then gives him some kind of tea that, as he's kind of having these visions, they kind of turn into nightmares. I feel like Matt is the one that's closest to the dark, and we saw all that all stuff throughout the first season, so it's really no surprise. But man, that poor dude, he's just going through it. I will say the visions were very well done. I think some really cool acting from both Matt and everybody that was kind of part of the vision. Like it really gave that feeling of fear, and also of Matt just being trapped and not having an escape, not even having control of his life. Um, there's not a lot of Perrin in this episode. We get to see a little small sequence of Perrin and Avenda as they run into a couple new characters, Bane and Chiad, in the desert area as they're kind of walking back, where they just kind of like there's, I guess they perform some kind of ritual that involves both of them beating the living snot out of Vinda, as she kind of has to make up for causing the death of someone. So yeah, it was pretty hard to watch. Like it was definitely very violent stuff. But it feels like it's a lot of characters just, there's a lot of doing things because that's their duty in this show, and I think duty is a large thematic thing, and I think every single like different character kind of goes into that very differently, right? So Rand finally tells Moraine what he saw when Lanfear showed him where Egwene was and all that, so that she kind of feels he kind of fills her in on the plan. I will say every time Leandra shows up in screen now, I'm like, what are you up to now? So in this episode, she visited Moraine's nephew, Barthanes, who is on track to becoming the king, who also is a dark friend. What the hell? Like, is everyone a bad person in this show? Oh, man. So he is tasked with removing Moraine from the board, and even his own mom, if it comes to that, and he goes along with it. Luckily, there's some comeuppance later for that. Rand meets with Lanfear in the dream world. I gotta say, I think it's very funny how every time they're in the dream world, Lanfear is like uh, in the most extravagant outfit with, like, sitting on that throne. Like, it's a very cool location, though, I will say that. But I find it pretty funny, right? But yeah, she now has decided to go rescue Rand from the tower. So I knew there was going to be some kind of big confrontation coming. I just wrote in my notes like big battles coming up. Um, so Lan goes to see Logain to help him escape. So I don't know if they want to keep the Aes Sedai distracted, or maybe they do need his guidance to help Rand learn to control his powers more. I don't know exactly where they're going with that. Um, there's a really good scene where I guess Rena wants to reward Egwene for her amazing display of power, and it all kind of ends with uh, Egwene telling her like, "I'm gonna kill you," and oh man, uh, Madeline Madden is doing such a good job with this character. Like, it makes me feel really bad for Egwene, but also I know she's a badass, so like I I can't wait. I'm very confident that she's gonna get out of this predicament by the end of the season. I'm very hopeful that that's the case because I don't like seeing her in this situation. So let's see. Berthane, of course, gets his comeuppance because his mom overheard the conversation he had with Leandrin and set him up to be killed, I guess. Led, it was implied like they put him in this dungeon, like he was tricked into going in a dungeon, and then these dudes showed up with spears, which I assume they were just gonna kill him. So yeah, you know, don't be a dark friend. That doesn't end well for anyone. Let's see. So multiple people help Brand escape as land fear is causing havoc throughout the city. So everybody's kind of distracted. We do see the main group of Aes Sedais in the tower that are going to protect it um, link up together and just like have this really cool weave or spell or whatever to make it rain and put out all the fires throughout the city. That was pretty cool. Um, in the meanwhile, they use this distraction to escape. With Rand, Moraine, and Lan are going to take him through this gate. In a kind of a hidden way. They're going to take him through to Flamel, so he can help. That's where the prophecy says he's going to go anyway. So that's kind of what they're doing. Uh, we find out that Moraine wasn't really stilled by Ishmael, just like her powers were kind of blocked off and shielded. And Rand helps her get her powers back. That was so cool. That was a really great line because Lan never gave up on her power being restored and therefore their bond being restored as well. There's a really good line. Lan says, "I'm sorry it took so long to do my duty." Like my eyes welled up when I heard that. I just really really like their relationship. Like their connection transcends anything that we've seen in the show. I think, and of course, Seren shows up and we have a showdown. Uh, as they are about to leave, because Moraine opened the gate, she makes her close the gate because she has that the command rod oath that she took last season, and man, that's the end of their relationship. But of course, Lanfear shows up. She takes out the Amerlin, and they all leave through this gate, and that's kind of where we leave off for the episode. It was a very tense one. Like I said, this was very emotional, and a lot of the storylines are very emotional. Like, with Egwene, there's a lot of anger there. With Lan and Moraine, there's a lot of like finally reconnection. With the story with Barthane and his mom, like put him in the right place. And then of course, from the beginning to bookend the episode once again, Moraine and Sylvain, like just their relationship is now in shambles. So yeah, really fun episode. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next week. Like I said, I think it's the finale. I'm pretty sure I checked IMDb. They only showed 8 episodes for this season. So very much looking forward to that. very much looking forward to seeing what happens next and where we leave off for this season. But overall, I've really enjoyed it. Uh, Not just watching, but making these videos and then having people kind of talk about the stuff that's happened. So, as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.